Dancing Bear Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy, Holistic Transformation Podcast. I don't even know who I am yet. I'm Dr. Beverly, and I've been having so much fun talking to our next speaker, our next guest for this week's podcast. It's Dr. April Lynn James. She is a speaker, soprano with a beautiful voice, and an author. Her book just came out. So affectionately, she is known as the PhD Diva. She is a classically trained soprano with a PhD from Harvard, is best known for her groundbreaking work returning operas composed by women to the world's stages. She brings joy to the world through sharing her talents, creativity, and knowledge. Today, her talk will be about Hidden No More, operas composed by women revealed, and hopefully you'll just weave into that how that helps people heal, because music I know is very healing. So welcome, Dr. April.
Well, thank you, Dr. Beverly, for having me. Yes, music is healing. Music is something that connects us to the divine and comes from the divine. And all the composers, well, great composers, when people talk about great composers, well, people like Bach or Vivaldi, they would often, or almost always, at the end of whenever they wrote something, they would put, something like "Thanks be to God" at the end. They knew that the music, they didn't create the music came through them. And so that is something that I love about music of that time period, the Baroque, the classical period, and something that we need to remember nowadays.
Yes, absolutely true. Although the music being produced today, for the most part, I can't stand at all.
Well, see, okay, and then Georg Philipp Telemann would say to that, there are two kinds of music, good and the other kind.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, I think about the time, I think it was called New Wave music came out, and rap, and I can't handle, to me, that's not even music.
Yeah, I don't
It's just
understand.
noise, and
Yeah,
yeah.
I never understood rap or hip hop. They don't make sense to me.
Oh, good. As a
Yeah,
music person, you're allowed to say that.
thank you,
It's
thank
just
you.
an opinion. You're educated in this. So
I
huh?
Well, I grew up singing, I grew up singing good music. I started out, I would sing before I even went to church. I'm sure I was singing from the moment I was born. And then once I was in church, I was allowed to be in the choir rather than go to Sunday school. So I'm forever thankful to my parents for that.
I was in the band, so I learned classical music at an early age.
Mhm.
And I guess it spoils you from music that has just a repetitive beat
Yeah.
and it's just loud.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's. See, I think that would be on Telemann's, the other kind. It's not.
The kind, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you how you got started in all of this.
How I got started in all of music? Well, just so I came into the world loving music and singing, and but I grew up in a family where music was considered a hobby, not a career. So even though I loved it, and I made it was an important part of my day every day. When I went to college for the first degree, I went into communications and media studies, and then I worked for a little while in television and publishing, and hated it, and said, I'm going to go back to school and study what I want to study, what really moves me. And so that's what I did. And when I got back to school to study music, I was really aware that women's voices weren't well, women were seen as singers. You could definitely see women as singers, but when I was looking in the music history textbooks, I open it up and I'm like, okay, so there's Hildegard von Bingen, that's 12th century, and then there's pretty much not another woman mentioned until Clara Schumann in the 19th century. And I'm going, didn't women do anything in between those two? I mean, come on, really? So that was what got me started researching music by women, because I just said I couldn't believe that there wasn't anything to find. And because I am a soprano, I wanted to find music that I could eventually sing.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah.
yeah.
See, I'm an alto, so
There's
I,
music for altos too
oh,
by women.
really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, no, I just harmonize and keep my voice down because I don't reach those high notes.
But alto, the alto voice is really beautiful. I mean, come on. There's some really gorgeous music written for altos. My women, I'm not as familiar with, but Vivaldi, Antonio Vivaldi wrote music for the Pietà, which is the orphanage for girls there in Venice.
Oh,
Yes, there was an orphanage that was specifically for girls and women. So they stayed in there their entire lives if they didn't marry. They stayed there. And he wrote music for the chorus and orchestra of the Pietà. So you have a female, women, entire orchestra composed of women and girls, entire chorus, SATB, so soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, composed for women's voices.
wow.
And there's some gorgeous music written by Vivaldi for
Mm.
altos, and even low altos for bass, for what bass or tenor voice, woman's bass or tenor voice. So there's stuff
Oh,
out there for
interesting. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, that's why I played a clarinet because I didn't want to play an instrument where you had to sing.
you. and, and see, that's why I didn't play the recorder. I the recorder was fine, but I'm going, well, wait, I can't sing and play this.
Yeah, you need a piano or a guitar or something
Right,
like that.
exactly. So I learned
Ukulele.
guitar and piano. Those are the other instruments I play. Yeah.
Mhm. So why do you refer to your doctoral program as boot camp for book lovers?
Hmm. Yeah, well, because the experience of going to Harvard for my PhD was, I will say, not the easiest experience. And for a number of reasons. For a number of reasons that are, I think, particular to these, intense, high pressure research one type universities, they come with a lot of baggage and societal expectations, I think, that I didn't have when I was an undergraduate at Queens College. So I'm from New York City, and I went to Queens College at City University of New York for my previous degrees. And there I felt like, especially when I went back for a music degree, so I was doing a second BA for my music degree at Queens. And I felt like a peer with my professors because I was already not an standard undergraduate. I was an older student, not that much older, but I was treated as an equal, as an adult, as someone who had a brain and a life. And it wasn't, you know,
Versus the kids right out of school.
versus the kids right out of school. But then when I got into the doctoral program up at Harvard, it was like back to square one. You couldn't refer to your professors by their first name until after you passed your general exams in your third year. All this hierarchy, these status games, and courses that weren't nearly as interesting as the ones that I'd been doing as an undergraduate at Queens College, I have to say. And so my first couple of years, I wound up stressed out. I developed tendonitis in my right arm because I was sitting at the computer typing like this all the time. I was depressed, and I went up I gained weight, and I went up one whole dress size, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't appreciate this. This is not it. This is not, and so I said, I have to change what I'm doing. So I just felt within me, I just followed the guidance that I have always followed from the divine. And I got away from the computer. I got away from the computers. I enrolled in dance classes, modern and Baroque. So 18th century dance as well as modern dance. Took acting classes. I got back into juggling. I had taught myself how to juggle when I was working in television, so years previous. So I got back into that and became the only graduate student member of the undergraduate Harvard Juggling Club. It's interesting, right? And I took mime classes, physical theater, so clowning, mime, physical theater, basically anything that was kind of like the opposite of the music department that I was in. And over the course of that year, I lost the extra weight, the tendonitis went away, and I was much happier. And so that experience informs some of the coaching that I do now, some of the writing I do now, because I have this whole play framework that I tell people about. And play your way healthy, or play your stress away. And it's all about it. Play is an acronym for positivity, that's P, and perseverance. And then you have L, which is do what you love, but also laugh a lot. And then A, you have to have a sense of awe. So you have to have a connection to the divine. And it's all like, awe, instead of awe, not that kind of awe, not that kind of awe. No, awe, right? So we have that. And then, of course, youth enhancing movement, staying young at heart. So that's my play framework that I don't call it a framework anymore, since I see computers have sort of taken that over. So those are the play practices that I know that I engage in. And these are things that help me become healthier. And I know they help others become healthier.
Yeah, I think people forget the importance of play and taking time out. And they think, oh, if I work a little harder, and they don't realize if they take a break and play, they'll actually get more done faster.
That's right. That's right. It always helps. If I'm feeling stuck on something, I'm like, all right, get away from the computer, pick up the juggling bags, juggle, or do some yoga, or even just lie down on the floor and, prop my head up on a little ball, soft ball, so that I can, release my neck, releasing neck and shoulder tension. That's a big thing. For me, it's a very important thing to make sure.
I play with my dog.
That's good too. And I sing.
He reminds me if I sit too long, he'll come up.
Good.
And I go, oh, you want me to get up? Okay, and I'll get up and go play with him.
Good.
Yeah.
We all need someone or something to help us, get out of that into the computer thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so right. Play is important.
Yeah.
So what is a pastoral opera?
A pastoral opera is a shepherd and shepherdess opera. This is, shepherd and shepherdesses. Yes, shepherds and shepherdesses were very important in the Renaissance and Baroque aesthetic. If you were to go into a museum and look at paintings by Watteau, that's one of a very famous 18th century painter. A lot of his scenes, I think they call them genre scenes, but they're of these idyllic Arcadian landscapes. So you have people elegantly dressed, but elegantly dressed shepherds and shepherdesses.
Oh,
Out in the field or sitting by the lake or by the river, and they're sipping something out of a goblet, or they're doing country dances, they're playing the musette. So this was a thing from the Renaissance through the 18th century. When I first learned about this, actually, when I went to Versailles, my first trip to Versailles when I was a teenager, and they talked about Marie Antoinette had this part of the park, the gardens, called Le Petit Trianon. And it was where she went to pretend she was a shepherdess.
Really?
Yes. And to get away from all the angst and all the stuff at court, just in the building. She went out and her ladies in waiting, and they pretended to be shepherdesses, and they did simpler things. I guess they had simpler meals. And what's interesting about that, to me also, that I learned that about Versailles, and I kind of squirreled that knowledge away. Then I come to Maria Antonia, decades later, the woman I wrote my book about. So the 10th Muse, right? Now, and I discovered that she's writing an opera. Her first opera is about shepherds and shepherdesses in love. And so this is Il Trionfo della Fedeltà is her first opera, The Triumph of Fidelity.
So on Facebook, you posted a picture of someone. Was that the muse or was that her?
I've been doing a little musathon for the last few weeks on Facebook and LinkedIn, because Maria Antonia was called the 10th Muse, but then who were the muses and what is a muse? I wanted to find out what people know about the muses currently. It turns out not a lot of people know who the muses are, so it's been great because I had to learn that. So I'm like, well, if I had to learn it, probably other people would like to know that too. So I've been sharing that about, Clio, the muse of history, the earliest muse was Calliope, and she is the muse of music and eloquence, and then there's Clio, the muse of history. Erato was the muse of romantic poetry, and Euterpe is a muse of music. And there are a few more. I haven't gotten to all 9 yet, so I'm not going to do the big reveal. People will have to just find me on Facebook or LinkedIn
to see all those muse pictures.
See all the amusing muse pictures. Yeah, but so there are 9 muses, and Maria Antonia, so the woman I wrote my book on, was called the 10th Muse, because she united several of the arts into herself. She was a composer, right? She was a poet, and not just any poet, but she wrote the libretti to her own operas, which that's not an easy feat. I don't think there's a male composer until Richard Wagner who wrote the words and the music, together. I don't think that there was one before.
Even in modern music, you have people that write the words and people who compose the song. It's very rare even today.
It's very rare for someone to compose the music and the words, and then to compose the words in a language that's not their native language. Because she wrote Italian language operas. She wrote Italian poetry. This is a great accomplishment. And then not only that, she was a soprano like me. So she sang the lead role in her own operas.
What was her nationality?
She was German.
German.
Yeah, she was born in Bavaria. She was born Princess of Bavaria. And then married into the Saxon royal family. So then became Princess of Saxony.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And because of her accomplishments in so many of the arts, and because she was also a very important patron of the arts, who wanted to remake Saxony into the fine arts capital of Europe, she was hailed as the 10th Muse. And the 10th Muse, meaning that she was so inspiring to people that they wrote poems in her honor. They named their children after her. In fact, I mentioned the Queen of France earlier. Her cousin, Marie Antoinette, was named after her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully she didn't get beheaded.
No, my Marie Antonia was off the planet before all that stuff happened. She lived until 1780.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's from 1724 to 1780. So, yeah.
So you mentioned earlier you also do coaching. So how do you work all this in together with your coaching? How do you work with people?
I work with people online and in person, and I offer talks. So I've been giving talks. Mostly I've been giving talks, and I've just I've been presenting on positivity. I can present on any of the play practices or all of them together. But it's all often fun to do one at a time, because then people get a really in-depth introduction to the concept, right? So I talk about positivity, and I give people exercises like focusing on, we have to bring this positive energy into ourselves in order to heal and stay healthy. So one of the things I encourage people to do is to recognize that the thoughts that we take in are not actually our thoughts. And Bruno Gröning is a great teacher who has inspired me and helped me to heal. And I really, I'm indebted to the teaching of Bruno Gröning for all the healings and helps that I've had in my life. And Bruno Gröning would he would tell people that there are two energies at play here on this planet: the good energy, that's only the divine, and then the opposite of that energy, which is only the negative sender. And when you realize that there are these two things that we as human beings are constantly in charge of, like we're in charge of our consciousness and what we take in. So we are constantly in charge of our bodies and our consciousness and our choices, whether we're going to align with God, the divine, or align with something else and fall out of alignment and fall into disorder and illness. So once you recognize that, there's no room for things like doubt. People talk about self-doubt, but there is no such thing as self-doubt. We are always confident beings because we came from this divine source, so we are like what we came from. There's only doubt that likes to masquerade as our thoughts. And so I like to teach people to go, okay, well, if you got some thoughts that are going around that are not helpful, write them down. I have people do this, write them down. I'll give you 5 minutes, 5 minutes, write them down. Okay, now take what you've written down and tear it up, throw it out. Now write 5 minutes, positive things, only positive things. And then read them out loud. We read them in the group, and then take those home, put them on Post-it notes, put it around your space. You've got to keep reminding yourself, because we're in this earth school and we forget. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, but we often forget our connection. And so we have to keep reminding ourselves. And if that's Post-it notes, if that's playing positive music, music with positive messages, if it's calling up a friend and laughing, if it's watching a funny movie, like, hey, put the Marx Brothers on, or put Chaplin on, or something, put Monty Python on, if that's what you like. But we have to keep ourselves reminded that we are positive energy, and that's the way we attain help and healing in our lives.
So true. Yeah. And a play is so important, and how we think and what we think, mindfulness. Yeah.
Right.
So important. So I know we've talked about this in past podcasts and Summit, but tell us about Madison.
Madison. Yes. Well, Madison came into my life. That Madison is the guardian angel of my sense of humor. And Madison came into my life, first came into my life, and as just, well, I keep backing up. Madison first came into my life, and I didn't know the name Madison. But this is what it was in the summer of 2009. I was living with my mother, and there were various challenges going on in our household. And I was into angels, though, and I wanted evidence that angels were around me, and that I was heard, and that I was being helped. So I was I forget which spiritual teacher I was reading, whether it was Doreen Virtue or someone else, but there was an angel exercise. Contact your guardian angels, and what you do is you ground and center. You connect with God. You ask for positive energy and protection, and then you ask for a sign from your guardian angel. And so I did this, and I said, okay, well, it was summer, so I said, I'd like a snowflake. Like that would prove to me. Okay. All right. And then I forget about it, go on about my life. A couple weeks later, we get a fall catalog from Land's End. And, look at the back. Okay, fall catalog. I turn it over to the front cover. There is a red sweater with a white snowflake on it. And I'm going, okay, all right. Oh, you're listening. You're listening, you're there, and you have a sense of humor. Great. Okay. And what started to happen then in that year was that every time I was feeling a little blue, I was going and I was looking for, I was part of the Actors Work Program. So I was in Manhattan and I'm trying to find a side hustle to help me with my, to pay the bills while I still do the music career. And I wasn't finding anything. But every time I would sit down and maybe I was eating a slice of pizza and I'm looking through the window, there would be an air conditioning truck that would go by. And this particular company had a snowflake as its logo. Right. So I'm going, and that would just make me laugh. And I started calling this guardian angel Snowflake because I understood that the divine was trying to lift my mood and get me out of this funk. All right. So now March 2010. I go to some job fair with a friend, and the job fair just had nothing to offer. But this friend was a member of the Screen Actors Guild, and she had passes to the newly released Tim Burton film Alice in Wonderland. Would I like to go? Now, at that point, the answer was like, no, not really. I hadn't seen a Tim Burton film in a long time. I really hadn't seen one of his films since Edward Scissorhands. Okay, that was at that time. And then I wasn't into Johnny Depp. I mean, I hadn't seen a film of his also in a very long time. And I didn't know anything about Lewis Carroll, knew nothing about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The only thing from Lewis Carroll that I knew was the poem Jabberwocky, because for a Victorian literature class at Queen's College, I had learned that, and it was my favorite poem. It made me laugh. I loved that. So I said to my friend, well, I'll walk to the theater with you because it's on my way to the subway, which it was at 56 and 56, yeah, and 7th Avenue. So I go to the Directors Guild Cinema. And she's like, you sure you don't want to go in? So I said, well, I'll use the bathroom before I get on the subway, because it was a long ride into Queens from Manhattan. Get out of the bathroom, and it's 5 minutes to showtime. She goes, are you sure you don't want to stay? And I said, well, I'm like, well. So I called my mother because I was planning to get home and make dinner for her. I called her and she was fine with my not being there. So I said, okay, because I hadn't seen a 3D film. The film was in 3D. Okay, if I got nothing else out of it, I would see a 3D film. So we go in and we sit far right, far right in the audience. And lights go down, the music comes up, and from the first note of the music, already something starts to awaken in me. I'd given up on dreams and on magic, but here I could hear wonder, I could hear magic, I could hear innocence in the music. And then as Alice's story unfolds on the screen, I'm seeing my life reflected in the situations that she's going through. And then there's the scene where she's in Wonderland and she comes to this clearing where there's a table set for a great many people, but there's only the March Hare, the Dormouse, and the Hatter. And the Hatter is at the far end. He's asleep in the chair. He wakes up and he sees Alice approaching. And the moment his face fills the screen with delight, he's just like excited to see her, I hear inside my head this voice that goes, that's me. And I'm like, me who? No response. I'm like, all right, well, we'll just file that one away, get back to the movie. By the time the movie finishes 2 hours later, it's like something has awakened in me. I feel like there's something alive in me, right? That's coming up. And suddenly I'm obsessed with the Hatter, with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and Lewis Carroll. So I read the books. For the first time, I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and then Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. And I love them. They just I'm just over the moon with those books. And I I start buying stuff related to the Tim Burton film. When a DVD comes out, I buy it. I watch it every weekend. Like, I can't get enough of this. I keep watching it. I'm like, what's going on here? All right. Fast forward to June of 2011. I'm on my computer. I'm looking for stills from the film to use as wallpaper on my Mac. And I come across one that has a picture of the Hatter, and then it has a poem that's written in a Hatter-ish voice. And I look at that, well, maybe. All right. And then that voice pipes up in my head again. I could do better. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, look, it's not even a proper form. It needs to be a sonnet. And I'm going, a sonnet? Okay. I hadn't written one of those since an undergraduate creative writing class a decade earlier, but okay. Sure, I'm game. Let me look up the definition of sonnet in the dictionary, the Oxford American Dictionary, just to make sure. Sonnet, 14-line poem. Okay. I can do 14 lines. All right. So I take out a pen, I take some paper, and I start writing. And then I start laughing because, like, not 15 minutes later, we have, if I were not mad, what on earth would I be? 'Tis an unlikely prospect, I'm sure you'll agree. Those voices that whisper when no one is near, their meaning is all too entirely clear. I laugh out of turn, I sing in the rain. To me, this is custom, to others, insane. My past is a mystery shrouded in dreams, concealed by blue starlight and moonlit by streams. My present meanders up uncommon roads, and as for my future, who knows what it holds? My friends, they're a mixture of whimsy and wise who come round the bend to drink tea in disguise. In a world where 1 + 1 equals 3, if I were not mad, who would I be? And right after that came out of my pen came the name Madison Hatter, so Hatta, sonneteer. And Madison's been coming through strong ever since. We have over 200 sonnets. And Madison, I like to call Madison my not so silent business partner, because my company is April plus Madison. Yeah. So that's Madison.
So if you weren't mad, who would you be? Yeah, I have my friends that I talk to, and I've had people ask if I'm schizophrenic.
No.
I just can talk to the other side.
That's right. The thing is that the other side is always talking to us. That's the thing that people have forgotten in this very materialistic age that we live in, and where people keep wanting computers to take over more and more of what we naturally do as humans. We're forgetting that there's another side. We didn't start here, we came here, and we are in constant contact with that other side. God is, what was the Bette Midler song? God is watching us, right? God is watching us, but God's talking to us too. And through these beings, the angels, there are fairies. I mean, it's all energy. We are all
I
energy.
actually see them.
Yes,
I've been able to
some
see
people
through
can
the
see
veil
them.
since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
some can see. I'm more of a clairaudient, so I hear I hear the guidance more, or I feel it because I'm a sensate too. So I can feel the guidance more.
I feel them. Sometimes they poke me, when I say certain things. You'll see me all of a sudden, if I'm going like that, it's because someone just poked me. Yeah. Yeah, I get it from all sides.
Yeah.
Hearing, seeing, feeling.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is what we are meant to, our natural state is to be connected to the divine and to hear and see the invisible. Yeah. This is our natural state.
So you've been doing coaching and you just published your first book. What else are you into right now?
I'm into singing. Actually, I'm going to be doing Christmas caroling this year.
Oh,
Yes,
in
so
Florida? Aren't you in
yes,
Florida?
I'm in Southwest Florida, and there's a caroling group that I'm going to be part of. I'm so looking forward to that. This is
Wow.
my favorite type of music, aside from Baroque music, so 18th century music. I love Christmas carols.
Christmas carols, me too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So are you going to do that like in a shopping center or something?
Wherever they want to hire us to do it.
You're going to get paid.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part of Christmas I like the most. I start playing the Christmas carols and sing along with them.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
Um, so you have a free gift for our audience called The Music Lover's Guide to Operas Composed by Women. Tell us about that.
That's right. In this little ebook, you will discover the truth that women did write operas and that they're well respected and well known in their time. And it's just over time, people have forgotten their works. And I see this as the first step towards getting this music out to people, because people ask me, people will always ask, oh, did women write any music? Well, yes, they did, quite a lot of it. And the challenge for today's audience is still that people don't know that this music is out there. They don't know where to find it. Hint, some of it's in Harvard's music library. But also some of it's on the web. There's some things that are on the web that, public domain sources. But a lot of this music still isn't played. It isn't studied. It isn't recorded. And if you'll think about how many recordings there are of a Bach concerto for harpsichord, and then think of how many recordings there are of Il Trionfo della Fedeltà, so Maria Antonia's first opera. There are none, as far as I've been able to determine. This has to change, because we can't have a full discussion about this music, about the music from the 18th century or any century, if we're not able to really listen to and perform all the music. We can make our choices. We don't have to perform it, but how about we get it so that people know about it and are interested enough in it to go, ooh, yeah, let's hear that.
Well, I know a lot of composers today will take music from the past and create modern music out of it.
Mm,
So if they've never heard of some of the women composers, then they would never even do anything with that music.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting that it never gets played.
It rarely, it's get it. Well, the problem is that it's not recorded. So if it's not recorded, often it's not in scores. It's not in a modern edition of a score that someone can
Oh,
use. But even
ah,
before that, there has to be the awareness that this stuff is out there. So my role is kind of like the first role, the first one of these. Hey, this stuff is out there. And then let's figure out a way to play this. I want collaborators. I want to work with people in bringing this music out of the archives and onto the stage. So part of why I do this is because I want people to contact me and say, hey, you know, I know how to use, music transcription software. Let's get this stuff into a form that we can use it. Hey, wait, I know a harpsichordist. Wait, I know other singers. Let's put on a show. Like Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney. Let's put on a show.
So for those of you on YouTube, I'll have the link down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, you want to go to www.freegiftfromthephddiva.com. So that's all one word, free gift from the PhD. Oh, it's just PhDiva. There's no double D in there. So it's free gift from the PhDiva.com.
Okay.
And that sounds like a great gift. So do you have any closing words for us?
My closing words are inspired by Lewis Carroll. I exhort everyone to believe in at least 6 impossible things before breakfast every day.
Nice. 6 impossible. I'll have to work on that one. Wow. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. And it's always fun to talk to you, Dr. April.
Thank you, Dr. Beverly, for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to your audience. Thank you.
Okay. And remember, everyone, to be the light you want to see in the world, or the soprano.